Thank you, everyone. Please have a seat. Before I forget, could you please switch off your phones now? Thank you. Welcome to the Winter Athletic Assembly. Just looking around, if you look behind me, that is a lot of awards. There are a lot of banners, a lot of plaques, trophies. You Spartans did a lot of winning this winter. And winning is great. We all love winning. I remember Coach Liverpool telling me one day, hey, I'm not going to lie to you, I love to win. And he is definitely not alone. Not on this stage, not in this church, not in society as a whole. But I'd like to take a moment to talk about losing. Losing, in my opinion, gets a pretty bad rap. Losing is more important than you think it is. And here's 3 reasons why. First, memories of losing are often stronger and more vivid than memories of winning. Sure, they're not happy memories, but you never forget those rough, soul-crushing losses that become something you'll talk about with your teammates years from now. I personally will never forget some of the horrible losses I've suffered over the years. I can tell you play by play how the games went. They're like nightmares, but at least they're strong memories. They're full of emotion, they get me riled up, and I remember them with startling clarity. Those memories of heartbreaking losses are more powerful than most of my wins. And the powerful memories you make with your teammates, well, that's one of the best things about playing sports. In fact, that's one of the reasons you play sports in the first place. Second reason, you learn more from losing than you do from winning. And this is kind of an easy one. This is an accepted fact. When you win, all you want to do is celebrate. But when you lose, you take stock of all the things you could have done better, and you improve those things. So given that one of the main goals of sport is to improve so that you can reach your potential, then in that respect, losing is even more important than winning. Finally, without losing, you can't really appreciate winning. If all you did was win, it would get boring. Sports is about struggle and overcoming adversity. That's what makes winning exciting. That's what makes winning sweet. The Varsity boys hockey team beat St. Andrews College in the national semifinals for the first time in 6 years. I bet that win was sweet. Bantam okay, all right. Bantam girls basketball had only 1 win all season, and then they upset BCS in the playoffs. I bet that win was sweet. If you're going to clap for the boys, you clap for them right there. All right. And the prefects finally beating the teachers today at basketball. That win was probably sweet for them too. You don't have to clap for that. You don't have to. Winning is fun, but losing a few times before you win, that makes winning way sweeter. So that's why losing is not as bad as it seems. And to be clear, I'm not hoping to lose every basketball game I coach next year. I like winning also. But just remember that without losing, the whole athletics experience just isn't as intense. We need losing just as much as we need winning. And speaking of winning, there are lots of winners here at Stanstead College that work tirelessly to make sure your athletic experience is first rate. Mrs. Perot and Miss Muller in the health center, your physiotherapist, Miss Boudreau and Miss Laney, all the good people in maintenance, in the kitchen, the laundry staff, our drivers, Mr. Beaupre and Miss Wilkinson for their enthusiastic commitment to cross-country skiing and for bringing that program to the next level this year. Mrs. Wolf, who helps me in athletics and who I could not live without. Miss Alta Sheldon, who makes it all happen at the gymnasium. And of course, your incredibly dedicated coaches who care about your team's success, but who care more about you. All of these people help every one of you reach your potential, and I'd ask that you show your appreciation to all of them with a heartfelt round of applause. Now, I left one person out on purpose, as she deserves her own round of applause. You may not know, but in basketball, every school has to have a crew of minor officials, students who fill out the score sheet, run the main clock, run the 24-second clock. It's a stressful job, and most schools are not very good at it. But here at Stanstead, Our crew, called the Skittles crew, because we always supply the referees with Skittles during games, our Skittles crew is the best. I'm not exaggerating, and I'm not lying. I've coached 25 years, and we have the best high school minor officials crew that I have ever seen. Opposing coaches love playing here, and referees love reffing here, and that is because of one person, Miss Reynolds. Miss Reynolds has been the driving force behind the excellence of our Skittles crew for the past 10 years. But last Friday's Senior Boys Senior Night was her last game. She's stepping down, and she's leaving huge shoes to fill. So on behalf of all the players, coaches, and referees who have ever been part of a basketball game at Stanstead College over the last 10 years, I'd like to present Miss Reynolds with a small token of our appreciation. Mrs. Wolf says you like plants, so here's a little something that'll hopefully make you think of Spartans basketball every time you look at it. Please come on up, Miss Reynolds. Now on to the ceremony. Our first program to be recognized, volleyball with Mr. Spurk.
All right, leading this off, I'll try and keep it short and sweet like Valeria. I first want to thank Mr. Wolf, Mrs. Wolf, and Mr. Van Dyke. Without them, this program wouldn't exist, and their help with organizing games, travel was much appreciated. A major thank you to Mr. Mario Obe for helping ensure volleyball lives on for a long time at Stanstead College. And a major final thank you to two individuals, two grade 12 students who had a dream to put a volleyball team here at the college, and they made a dream a reality. So thank you to Simonetta and Florence for your support, your help, and what you did for this group. This year saw 17 girls enter a gym. My experience in sports has mainly been elite, and I can tell you it was anything but. We put up nets poorly. I didn't even know how to do that. We pulled out some volleyballs, we're hitting around, and it was looking grim. What I can tell you is over the months, their hard work, their dedication, and their determination allowed them to get to a point where we had games. I can honestly say I had more fear in my body for our first volleyball game than some championships I've played in sport. I felt fear for them, I felt fear for my ability as a coach, so I sat there and didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do. My speech was kind of like, good luck, I guess. I was learning the rules on the fly, but these girls, through the captains and their leaders, did amazing things. We lost the first two sets and somehow found a way to compete in the third. Moving forward, we worked hard, we got back in January, we had games again against BCS, never really getting that final win. But there was this day when we got on a bus and we went to Salesian. And I remember thinking, okay, I think we can compete here. But my speech was always the same, kind of like, well, just try your best, have fun. And they were like, what do you mean have fun? Like they wanted to win, and that was really cool to see the evolution from not knowing how to play to this. Well, we went out and we won 3 sets in a row, so that was a big deal for us. We then competed against their Division II team. We lost 26-24 and competed really hard in the second set. It was the highlight of the season. So to you girls, I want to say there was an excellent thing you did over the season, the way you competed, the way you evolved, and you now actually are part of history as the first ever Stanstead College girls volleyball team, so congratulations. In any inaugural sport, there's an inaugural award. That award is the Senior Girls Senior Girls Volleyball, it says rugby on it, Volleyball Sportsmanship Award. The Sportsmanship Award this year goes to somebody who may not be the best player you've ever seen in the volleyball gym, may not be somebody who would wow you with their talent, but I promise you they would wow you with their dedication and their love for each and one of her teammates. And it gives me great pleasure to give this inaugural award to Begonia Perez.
Our next program to be recognized, Bantam Girls Basketball, Miss Hessian.
Uh-oh. I don't know if I can do that. It's so close to me. Hi. First of all, I would like to say thank you. I know Mr. Van Dyke already did already. I'd like to thank Mr. Van Dyke and Mrs. Wolf for all the work that they do in athletics, as well as Mr. Dozois for the drivers, Ms. Sheldon, the health center, Ms. Peruse, and of course the Skittles crew for everything they do for all the basketball players in the school. So I want to tell you a quick story about last week. I was chatting with one of my friends. It was more than 20 years ago when I was playing Bantam Girls basketball in my junior high school, and I was chatting with one of my friends who coincidentally was also playing basketball, and I was talking about coaching basketball and sorting back over some memories, and I would say, you know, don't you remember da-da-da-da? And she'd say, no, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I was so shocked. And she'd, yeah, but you remember. And I said, no, like, I'm oblivious. I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't remember Bantam Girls basketball that well, I guess. And the moral of this story is that 20 years from now, there's a lot of details that you're not going to remember, which is the exact opposite of what Mr. Van Dyke said, actually. 20 years from now, there's a lot of things that you're not going to remember. So here are the things that you can forget. You can forget the burpees. You can forget the bear crawls. You can forget the long waits at the away games. You can forget about losing games. You can forget about losing the jump ball, about the travels, about the double dribbles. You can forget about passing the ball to the other team. You can forget about forgetting your sneakers, although Alta saved you. You can forget about searching for passports, pea coats, mittens, hats, white socks, hair ties, sweaters, sweatshirts, minutes before we're about to leave for a road trip. You can forget about the basketball fingers, and you can forget about the sprained ankles. In fact, I'm almost certain you're going to forget almost everything I told you. But here is what you can remember. You can remember Terry's amazing three-pointer, Helen's beautiful rebound putback, Shushu's ninja steal at BCS, Crystal's jump shots. You can remember Karen not crossing half court ever in an ultimate game. You can remember Coralie's circus splits and jumping back up every single time, every day. You can remember Elisa's sneaky walking whenever she thought I wasn't looking. You can remember Lorelei popping up to make a steal and surprising mostly herself. You can remember Sage and Ella trying to out-scream each other when they want the ball. You can remember Alicia looking so nice and friendly just before she rips the ball from your hands. You can remember Iris's rebounds at the Rotary tournament and her uncontrollable sense of humor. But if there's one thing I want you to remember, and one piece of advice, don't ever go into the corner. There's nothing good that can happen there. I had a lot of fun with the Bantam Girls basketball team this year. Wins and losses aside, there's a lot of memories that you can have that you will remember 20 years from now. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to coach you. I have 3 awards. I'm going to name the 2 Bantam S Award winners and then the Sportsmanship Award, you should call it from now on. And you can all come up at the same time. So the Bantam S Awards are going to 2 players for their talent, tenacity, and teamwork, and it is Mary Teresa Calva-Shalaupa and Emanuela Udo. And the Sportsmanship Award will go to a player that did not play in one single game this year. Nonetheless, even though she knew at the very beginning she wouldn't be able to play in a game, she came to practice every day with a shining smile and worked her hardest. And that is Karen Kasugi. Please come on up.
Before calling up the first hockey program of the evening, I'd like to invite our Director of Hockey Operations, Mr. Ryu, to come up and say a few words.
Good evening, everyone. Time to thank the many people who made this year's hockey season possible. Mr. Van Dyke, our Athletic Director, for his support and always being there to listen. Carol and Maida, the laundry staff, Eve and the kitchen crew, Stéphane, Jean, our driving team, Jose, Jennifer, Holly, Dr. Charette, the health center, Mark, Mario, Josh, and David, the rink, Olivia and Jade Sarah, our physiotherapists, Eric Castonguay, our head official, Mr. Murray for his continued support of communications, Ms. Campbell, our amazing yoga instructor, Mr. Vero for being a volunteer coach with the Bantam Hockey team, Sandy, more than toe drag hands, but a huge help to all the teams since your return, Sparty, the Booster Club, for making the arena atmosphere awesome all season, Ms. Sharman for all her extra efforts and responsibilities with the girls team, Ms. Vaillancourt for helping build the girls hockey program the past 4 seasons. Her experience, technical skill, recruiting ability, and overall passion for the game of hockey have helped many of our girls become the players that they are today. Moreover, she's moved on an impressive number of student athletes to both NCAA and CIS schools, as well as at the provincial and national levels. Many thanks to Ms. Vaillancourt for her tremendous efforts and success. Merci. Mr. Thompson, Coach P for their mentoring, and a big shout out for their tremendous season, possibly the greatest in Stanstead history, for in my opinion, their strength of schedule was unparalleled in years past. Mr. Angeliti, a dedicated strength and conditioning coach, big thanks for your positive approach with our athletes, Angie. You've pushed them, taught them proper technique, made them stronger, and been an instrumental role model each and every day. And last but not least, Dixon Lung, our game day operations go-to video technician. You're an incredibly reliable and mature student, Dixon. Thanks for your consistent support and outstanding work for the last few years. Now, the 2017-18 hockey season was an exceptional year. Over 90 athletes in the hockey program combined to finish with the following records. Our Bantam/Thirds team, 12 wins, 5 losses, 3 ties. Our Prep Hockey U16 team with 27 wins, 18 losses, 2 ties. Our Varsity Boys Hockey team with 39 wins, 12 losses. And our Girls Hockey team with 48 wins, 7 losses, and 4 ties. A special congrats to our varsity boys and girls on their tremendous seasons. Obviously, you all picked up on the number of wins. Both probably the top-ranked teams in North America. I'm sure you'll hear more about the details from the coaches soon. Now, as Mr. Van Dyke alluded to earlier, Wins and losses aside, I'm reminded of one of my favorite sports quotes from the legendary John Wooden, the most successful coach in NCAA men's basketball history out of UCLA. And it goes like this. You can lose when you outscore somebody in a game, and you can win when you're outscored. You can lose when you outscore somebody in a game, and you can win when you're outscored. Let us as coaches, teachers, and role models never lose sight of this. I'd now like to welcome Mr. Charret and the Bantam Hockey program. Well done on a really positive season. Merci, Luc.
Good evening. I coached the Bantam Hockey program for 3 years. That program evolves pretty much. In my first year, we had a third of the ice for practices, shared with the prep teams. Second season, we had a mix of third of ice and full ice, still shared with prep team. But this season, wasn't it awesome to benefit from a full ice every practice? Yes, definitely. It helped us to improve and enjoy the game of hockey. In the first season, we played 10 games, 3 wins, 2 ties, and 5 losses. Good year for Mr. Van Dyke. In my second one, we had 13 games, 3 wins, 3 ties, and 7 losses. Another good one. But this current year, we played 19 games, so thank you, Mr. Ryu, for letting this program expand and evolve. We had an amazing team this year. In fact, it was like 2 teams in one. A senior roster and a Bantam junior roster. Players from grade 7 to grade 11. Not that easy to manage, but that has been possible because of you, Mr. Ryu, Mr. Vanas, Mr. Sanderson, and Mr. Varro with your incredible drills that you brought up. I want to thank you very much for all the knowledge, the passion, and the dedication you brought to that team. We did well this season, like Mr. Ryu said. 19 games, 12 wins, 2 ties, and 5 losses. Thanks to all of you, the 24 players who worked hard, who commit to that beautiful sport, and who were part of that team. A special thank you and good luck to Hidenobu Kaga, who is leaving us, for those great 3 years of hockey, and also to a few senior players that will eventually not be allowed to play Bantam in grade 12. Patrick Young, Timothy Smith, Patricio Tamayo, Olivier Daniel, Mackenzie Diaz-Leclerc, and Mathieu Duval-Soto. I also want to thank each and every player. I think we had a positive experience, and you are a big part of that. Thank you so much, and good job, Spartans. Let me now say a few words about the award winners. I want to give 2 awards tonight, one for sportsmanship and one Bantam Hess. So I will ask the 2 players to come at the same time to receive their awards. For the sportsmanship award, I want to congratulate a player who gave a lot to the Bantam team during 2 seasons. She battles at all time and never complains. Even when she blocks a hard shot like yesterday, she stays on the ice and did numerous great defensive plays in all the games she played. Always on time and eager to improve. For the Sportswomanship Award, I named Julia Ballinger, and I invite her to come in front and receive her award. The second winner was a model of commitment, fair play, and talent for each and every minute of this hockey season. He is a new addition to our hockey program, and we're all very impressed by his hockey potential. He's a very consistent player. You can trust him when he's on the ice. I wish that he will enjoy the game of hockey for a long time and continue to play with the same passion. For this award, I will invite Dominique Pokora to receive a Bantam S.
Merci, Monsieur Charret. Our next program to be recognized, Junior Girls Basketball, Miss Perus.
So, good evening, everybody. Firstly, I would like to thank you a few important people, Miss Wolf, Mr. Van Dyke, Miss Eschen, for their support throughout the season, Alta for assistance with the gym equipment, the health center for their help with all of our injuries, and the wonderful GAP students, Vanessa, for their help in practice and on the road. So, Michael Jordan, one of my favorite basketball players, said 3 quotes that I believe define our basketball team this year. The first quote being, "Some people want it to happen, some wish it would happen, others make it happen." The beginning of the season was really hard. We lost a lot of games. In the first game away, after the first quarter in Marseille, I called a timeout after only 45 seconds because we were losing by 6 points. Yeah, the other team scored 3 baskets in 45 seconds. I told the girls, "Why are you so scared?" So Anna Sophia answered, "Because we lost against them in soccer, 10-1. I was shocked and I said, "I don't understand. It's not the same sport. The other team were not even that good. Believe it or not, we beat them by 3 Believe it or not, we beat them by 3 this game, and we were down by 10 at halftime. Our special and unique team spirit shows up, and we fight until the end of the game. This truly captures our season." This takes me on to my second quote. "I can't accept failure. Everyone's failed at something, but I can't accept not trying." Each team member had a moment where they felt like giving up. Camilla claimed at one point she didn't know how to play, but then she shot a basket in the game. Or Sam, that she never shot a three-pointer in her life and just made it. A large reason for a few losses was due to our injuries. At one point, more than half of the team were unable to play. But I was so proud because everybody tried their hardest, and and that was all I care about. Finally, my third quote, "Talents win games, but teamwork and intelligence win championship." We didn't win any championship this season. I can tell you that this team, with a little bit more experience and time to understand the game, could win. Ladies, I hope you will always remember these 3 sentences from me. Charlotte, it is my favorite drill. If you don't know what to do, run and have fun. Did you see that? Okay. So right now, I'm just gonna, so I'm really emotional right now, so I'm just gonna go the awards. I'm gonna give you 3 Junior S award and 1 sportsmanship. So I would like to give the first award to a person who has improved a lot over the season. At the beginning, she was shy, but now she has become a beast. She worked hard all the time, had the perfect shot, was really aggressive, and took every single rebound. The award goes to Geneva Coffey. My second one will go to a person with a variety of skills. She can play in the post, point guard, and sometimes she decides to be a 3-point shot shooter. She works so hard in defense and that sometimes she could not control herself and finish the game. But this person contributed a lot for the team in both the good and the bad moment. This award goes to Anna Sophia. My third one goes to a person with passion and perseverance. At the beginning of the season, she scored every single game. The other team understood this, and they had to double their defense on her. She's athletic, quick, and smart. This player has the perfect shot and can attack the basket strongly. These awards go to Marima Perry. And my sportsmanship awards. Last but not least, I would like to award a player that is super positive and involved in both practices and games. Her work ethic was exemplary, she did not complain, and she remained motivated. This in turn meant the girls work harder. We all know her by a few simple phrases. "Let's go les filles," "We can do it girl," or "I hate sport, but this was fun." These awards go to Rosalie. Thank you.
Junior boys basketball, Mr. Blair.
Good evening. Junior boys basketball 2017-2018. Many thanks go to Alta for making sure we had all the right stuff to play and practice every day, and for looking after the jelly beans. Thank you. To the health center for keeping the boys healthy. I'd like to thank Peter and Harry for their help this season, taking stats and providing some extra help for the boys when they needed it. Many thanks to the Skittles crew for all the great work, to Mr. Van Dyke and Mrs. Wolf for putting together a great selection of games, and on to the season. It was an unforgettable, educational season. We played an awful lot of games. We didn't have a lot of success in terms of points, but we certainly made up for it in education. We had a diverse group of boys, both in age and talent. I had boys from grade 7 all the way through to grade 10. Some had played organized basketball, but most had not. So we got better together. The major sweet highlight, I guess, was the victory over Massivania in the BCS tournament. And for the rest of the season, I'd just like to make sure I recognize the following boys: Kieran, TK, Pato, Emilio, and Justin Bouchard, for basically all rookies to the game. They practiced hard all season. They improved significantly. They all got all kinds of much-needed experience this year, and I appreciate your effort. Well done. To Banam, to Esteban, to Fred, Sam, Big Justin, and Hadley, who made the transition to the much faster, much more organized, and much more physical junior level basketball. You guys did a great job. Thanks so much. And finally, to Tyler and Leo, excuse me, they were the engines who grind out points, play hard on defense. They were always positive. They came out with good skills and improved all year and made a significant impact on the court. And for this effort, both have earned a Junior S. And Tyler's going to win the Sportsmanship Trophy for his leadership. Well done, guys.
Prep boys hockey, Mr. Ryu.
I'd like to begin by thanking my co-coaches, good friend Logan Vanas for his consistent efforts, outstanding work throughout yet another busy season. And special thanks to Coach Guy Ouellette, who's been a volunteer coach for the second season. Your positive energy and love of the players has obviously made this season special, and needless to say, the boys love you, Guy, so merci. I'd like to thank Matthew Duval del Soto for taking care of all the needed game day details most of the time. This season, our boys played in a new Hockey Canada League that vastly improved our schedule and competition. The teams in our league were all made up of 11th graders, in some cases 12th graders. Our team essentially had 7 key 9th graders. We ended up finishing 5th out of a 9-team league in the regular season with a record of 11-8, 1-2. Our league playoffs actually begin tomorrow at the Pat Burns Arena at 4, so come on out and have some poutine. So we still have some games to play for and a little bit of opportunity ahead. But essentially, I think we can summarize our season in 3 key points, 3 key memories. After Christmas, we came back a little bit early, practiced, and then traveled to Buffalo, New York. Got to play in the beautiful Harbor Center, downtown Buffalo. And in the middle of our first game, we realized that the game was going by pretty quick. So we asked one of the guys behind the glass if he could find one of the organizers, and we literally bought tickets for the gold medal game between Canada and Sweden in between the second and third period. So our intermission speech was, all right, boys, I think we got this game in the bag here. So seriously, if I charge your accounts, are you guys good for the money? And 25 guys were roaring. Literally, we showered as fast as ever, and we got to see Canada win the gold medal against Sweden at the Harbor Center in front of about 20,000 fans. That was a pretty special team memory. I think it really helped to kickstart 2018. Second key memory was beating the #1 team in our league, 7-6 in overtime back in January. Although we finished 5th, we've been able to hold our own against everybody. We've beaten the top team, and we've actually beaten 7 of the 8. There's only one team that's been our sort of nemesis. And lastly, really our third key memory is just having the opportunity to work with 2 great coaches and friends, 24 great guys, get to go to practice every day. It's been a real pleasure. We've come a long way from the start to the year. At one point we lost 11 games in a row, and shortly after we ended up winning 14 in a row. So when you're dealing with a young group that's quite talented, mind you, there's a lot of things that you've got to trust, and as a couple of my players made fun of me in the dining hall a few times, which is great. We have talked about the journey and the process, and I think it's working, because we're right where we want to be right now. We've committed to being the hardest working team in practice, the hardest working team on the ice, and everybody says we're tough to play against. That's a pretty flattering comment. Now, awards are never easy. There's 24 guys in the room. There's lots of talent. Some of you guys will be disappointed. That's life. There's no way everybody's getting a lollipop here tonight. Please wait till the end and you guys can all come up again. The Sportsmanship Trophy is awarded to a player who works hard each and every shift. It's a positive force day in, day out. He's a friend to all, fine gentleman in both English and French, Martin Lefebvre. Coaching staff has decided to award 2 juniorettes tonight. These 2 boys, in our opinion, were the most consistent players and made the greatest impact on a rather young team. Consistency means doing the same thing, getting it, never deviating from those things, being a leader, and performing when it's time. Our first goes to Jeremy Gagnon. He was our top scorer by far, veteran leader, most consistent player on the team from opening day. Everybody wants to play with Jeremy. He gets it. He's a role model, fine overall student, and he's going to be a heck of a player. Our second goes to BJ Roy, our leading scoring defenseman, veteran leader, most consistent 2-way defenseman since opening day. He's a physical presence. He's respected by his teammates, and we felt that those 2 gentlemen have been the most consistent players on our team from start to finish. Before you come up, I'd like to just have a quick shout out to our 2 seniors who's given us both a tremendous amount of energy and time and sweat over the last, in some cases, 5 and 6 years, and that's Ian Bissonnette and Will Huckins.
The next program is the first program of the night that can award a major S. So if there is a major S winner, that athlete receives a standing ovation. To speak about the curling program, Mr. Planeta.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Van Dyke, for all of your support this season. I want to thank Mrs. Hamilton for her efforts and dedication during the long, cold, dark winter. And I want to thank the team for your dedication. This was a wonderful season. I enjoyed working with all of you, and looking forward to 3:30 every day and going and talking curling and throwing some stones with you really was a treat all winter. Not to brag, Mr. Charest, but we had 2 full sheets of ice all to ourselves. Don't want to rub that in. Every year I'm here and I'm talking about expanding the programs. You know, a few years ago we added more games, then we added more road games, and this year we expanded the team by adding more players to it. We ended up with 18 players on the team this year. We had 8 from last year and then 10 new players to, and I'm very pleased with the progress that everyone has made, and I hope you had as much fun as I did. I'm often interested in coincidences and certainly a chain of events like A becomes B, and then because of A and B you can suddenly make C happen. And this year wasn't, there was also something that's strange happened this year where during the season, I noticed that it was going to be between us and Richmond for the most part. Nobody was going to catch Galt. They went all season. And the plan became to try and avoid playing Galt in the first round of the playoffs and getting knocked out. So we needed a win against Richmond, well, technically we needed a win and Richmond needed a loss. And not only that, but we had to score 7 points more than the differential from Richmond. Anyway, our game against Richmond a few weeks ago was postponed because of weather. There was a blizzard outside. The game was moved. And then a couple of weeks later, Mr. Van Dyke said, the game is moved. You're traveling with the junior girls basketball team. You're going to go to Richmond and you're going to play there. So we're on the ice and we're getting ready for the game, and it's kind of a must-win for us. And Mrs. Hamilton and I said to ourselves, like, where's their team? You know, like normally they have an A team, normally they have extra players, normally we have our B team playing their B team, and they seem to only have 5 people with them. So it turns out most of the Richmond curlers are also basketball players, and those guys were taken over by the basketball team to play our junior girls. So our junior girls team was running interference for our curling team. And the final of that game ended up being 11-3, which, as you know, is an 8-point differential, and we ended up not having to play Galt in the first. So I've decided to make all of the junior girls basketball players honorary curlers. So come up, get your team pins. I'm only kidding. I have a few awards, but before I get to that, I wanted to encourage all the players this year that are moving on to find a curling rink wherever you are in the future and try out and sign up and go throw a few stones. You've all came really far this season, and I'd like to hear in the future that you've kept up and you've thrown a few stones and you've kept up with the game. So I've got a few senior S awards here. First of all, to a player that came a long way in a very short time. She was a utility player. We had her at lead. She also skipped our B team. We also had her, we were able to work her in third. Another coincidence, we were able to work her into the third of that A team game against Richmond because the B team was not there. So we were able to work her in as a third on our A team in that 11-3 win against Richmond. And always playing with a smile on her face, Ivy Hu. This is the 5th year of curling at Stanstead College, and in that time we've had about 68 curlers, 68 kids play curling over the years, and only 2 of those players were ever named Athlete of the Week. So a few years ago we had Lou-Henri Scrère, who skipped to 2 back-to-back wins and ended up becoming Athlete of the Week a few years ago, and this year we had Coco Lee. She understands the game. She's a great shot maker, and we're definitely going to miss having her next year. So I have a senior S for Coco Lee. And I mentioned coincidences and chain of events a few times already. And 5 years ago, just as the curling team was getting started, I went to my table, the October table change, you know, right after you come back from the October break and you're all at new tables. And I'm heading to my table and there's this new girl there. She's only been in school here a month. I don't know a lot of junior girls. She's grade 8. I don't know her. And we're chatting and she doesn't know what she's going to play in the wintertime. She's not a basketball person. She's not a hockey person. You know, she's not a swimmer. What is she going to do? This is a sports school. What am I going to... I said, well, you know, we're starting curling. You know, why don't you try it out? Try and come to a practice, try out, throw a few stones. Maybe you'll like it, maybe you won't like it. And after all this time, she became one of the best leads in the league, in my opinion. She came out there, and being a lead on a curling team, it's a thankless job. You know, it's an important job and a thankless job. You've got the whole sheet there, and your job is to get stones over the hog line. You've got to set up guards, and what you're throwing is going to set up the whole rest of the end for your team. So we were lucky to have her. We're definitely going to miss having her on the team, and we were lucky to have her, Morgan Ireland. And finally, I had to pick someone for, well, second last, I have to pick someone for the away games for the playoffs. And the person that jumped into my mind instantly, I couldn't take all 18 players to the playoffs. You only play 4 in curling. You're allowed a couple of alternates, a couple of subs. I couldn't take 18 when I really only needed 7 or 8. So the person that jumped into my mind, though, right away, and I was thinking, I don't think she's going to play, but we've got to have her there for the positive energy. We've got to have her there for the support. And she's constantly encouraging the rest of the team. We took her to the playoffs and she didn't play, but she's been a perennial and on the team for years, so the Sportsmanship Award is going to go to Katia Lee. So if you 4 could come up, that'd be great. Thanks. I was talking to Mr. Van Dyke last week about athletic awards and about criteria, and he said, is your skip, is he an impact player? Is he one of the best players in the league? Yes, check. Does he have a positive effect on the group? Makes everyone play better and embiggens the team as a whole? Yes. Everything seemed to fit. So I would be remiss if I let this guy graduate and leave the curling program without recognizing him with the highest athletic award that we have. I mentioned expanding the program this year. There's always a first, so this is another first. So please stand and help me recognize the first Major S sweater in curling history. My advisee, I taught him everything he knows, Ye Ming Cheng.
Speaking for the squash program, Monsieur Prévost.
Ladies, gentlemen, first of all, I would like to thank everyone involved in making this squash season successful. Ms. Kirby, our valuable coach, Mr. Van Dyke for his support, Ms. Perrault and Ms. Moller, and obviously Ms. Sheldon for her daily presence. Thank you. We started the season with 4 girls and 14 boys, 4 of which were returning players. We welcome new students who had different experiences level in racket sports, although squash was new to them. This year, our top players participated in 4 competitions against BCS and in 1 provincial tournament in which some of the best players in the province were participating. Our players were P.Y. Shung, who managed to be our best male player by far, Gilberto Segovia, the Terminator, who scared people on the court by his presence only, Philippe Martel and Vincent Villot, who picked up the ABC of the game quickly enough to be 2 of our most effective players, Matthew L.G. and Michael Hu, who, in spite of few injuries, continued their progression again this year, becoming fierce competitors. And last but not least, Arisa Shimada and Amanda Guo, who, regardless of the challenge, were happy to represent our school. That said, the squash team is way more than a group of selected people participating to tournaments. It also includes a larger group of recreational players who were also involved on a daily basis. Next year, we will miss Nick Bowen, who was a true gentleman throughout the season, and Lauren Liang's laughter, who gave some spirit to our practices. The same can be said about Tim Carr, Charles Laporte, and Daniel Dumont, who were loud fellows on and off the court, which also include the weight room that became their second home. Another player who had a good progression is Eric Wang, who turned out to be more competitive as the season progressed. Marcelo Santoscoy was our youngest player, but he kept on climbing the ladder throughout the season, keeping a smile on his face, and he had a genuine pleasure to play day by day, even after the practice was over. Finally, Fritz Dietrich, Johnny Zwa, and Iris Wang all learned the game this year, and they all improved their play. I would like to sincerely thank and commend all of you. We had a good season. We had a good season together. Miss Kirby and I enjoyed being your coaches. On top of this, for another year, we managed to win the season's title against BCS 3 competitions to 1. Yeah. It's now time to give the awards to the deserving students. This year, we will give 2 of them, the Sportsmanship Award and a Majoress. I invite Miss Laura Kirby to disclose the winners. Thank you.
I'm not quite as tall. So the Sportsmanship Award goes to Marcelo Santoscoy. For as long as we have been here, Marcelo is the youngest recipient of this award. He is young, but he is a fierce competitor, challenging players much older than him. Marcelo has a bright future in squash, and we hope he will return next year. Marcelo, please come up and get your award. Now for the Major S. On the squash team for the past 4 years, he became an ultimate quiet leader. Without speaking much, he forced everyone to improve their game. He showed the whole team how squash can be played at a higher level. Leaving the school at the end of the year, we hope he will find a place to continue his progression on a competitive level. Winner of the Major S Award, and no surprise, Pri Wen Chung.
Speaking for the swim team, Miss Campbell.
Good evening. I thought I might tell you a story tonight. Long ago, in a sea not far from here, lived King Poseidon. Now, normally the king was a happy old man and much loved by everyone in the kingdom. Lately, however, he had been down and worried. You see, the underwater Olympics were coming up, and this event was hotly contested by creatures from all of the oceans and the seas. And King P had a reputation for fielding the best team with the best swimmers, and his team had always brought home the medals. This year, though, the king had had great trouble in finding athletes, and so he sent out a decree that whoever should bring him a team of the best swimmers would win a treasure chest full of wonderful jewels. Well, you can imagine the outburst of excitement as news traveled around the kingdom. Day after day, the king was besieged with messengers bringing the strangest combinations of athletes. But every time a team was presented, the king felt it just wasn't quite right. There were powerful swimmers who conquered everything in their wake, but they had no heart. There were fast swimmers who could beat the best, but they always seemed to be fighting amongst each other and putting each other down. The king was in a state of despair. How could it be that no one in the kingdom could be the team he needed? And then the king realized why he was having such trouble. This year, for some reason, the king knew in his heart that winning every event wasn't so important. He wanted something different, and so the search continued. Then one day, a small seahorse came to the king's palace. "Your Majesty," she said, "I think I have found what you are looking for. It's such a mix of swimmers, but they seem to fit together so well. There are swimmers who have swam for years and those who have never swum before. There are swimmers who like to laugh, have fun, and swimmers who have great spirit. But most of all, Your Majesty, these swimmers are mighty warriors." The king listened in amazement. What a strange mixture, he thought. But the little seahorse was so intent that this was the right choice. He decided to take a chance. Great spirit had to count for something. And so the king began to train his team. And as the days went by and the competitions grew, he saw how well the swimmers did fit together. The older ones helped and taught the young ones helped each other. Nothing was too great or too small. In fact, the king noticed that the swimmers' good spirit was everywhere. They were mighty and they were having fun. They were the Spartans he had been looking for. And that really sums up our season and our team. And in the 4 years that I've been coaching here, I honestly cannot say, I can't say what a wonderful pleasure and honor it has been to be with this team. It's been like a family. It really, really has, and I couldn't have asked for better people to be part of our family. At our last competition, the finals, one of the parents from another school came up to me and said, and I'm so proud of this, they said, if there was a banner for spirit and for sportsmanship, Stanstead would win it. Because Stanstead, no matter who was racing, Stanstead always cheered for everyone. So well done. So before moving on to the awards, I would like to thank Alta for always having our kit ready, Mr. Van Dyke for organizing our competitions, Stefan for arranging our transport, Wen for her help and support at practices and meets, and thank you to the parents for coming to support your children at our competitions. And finally, I would like to thank Ms. Mastasi. From the very beginning, this has been a true coaching partnership. Her creativity and enthusiasm have been an inspiration to us all. The first awards to be given out for swimming are the Bantam S Award and the Sportsmanship Award, so please come up together to receive. The Bantam S is awarded to a swimmer who was a hard worker, to say the least. She started the season struggling to make it to the other side of the pool. but now can swim hundreds of meters with beautiful form. She cheers on her teammates and has the heart of a leader. There is no doubt that the Bantam S shall go to Christine Breton. And the Sportsmanship Award. This little swimmer showed up on the first day of tryouts with a huge smile on her face, ready to jump in the water. Throughout the season, she never complained, she only pushed harder. She never backed down from a challenge. In fact, she would take that challenge and surpass it. She was never afraid to push herself, and when provided with feedback, whether from a judge, a teammate, or a coach, she accepted it with a smile and learned from the experience. Each and every meet, you would find her on deck cheering for her teammates with great enthusiasm. It is our pleasure to present the Sportsmanship Award to Simone Ruff. The next awards are the Senior S and MVP awards, and I'll do them separately. The first Senior S and the Boys MVP trophy this year. And the Boys MVP trophy hasn't been awarded in a number of years, so this is something pretty special. This swimmer is dedicated and determined to win. He analyzed each movement and worked hard each and every practice to improve his stroke. He had a hunger to win while showing good sportsmanship. He brought the competitive nature into swimming this year and clearly showed his value through a successful season. Awarded a Senior S and the Trustees Trophy, please join us in congratulating Nurkin Jailobe. And the final award for swimming this evening is the Senior S and the MVP for girls. This swimmer is competitive and kind-hearted. She is inclusive and always takes the time to teach her fellow teammates about proper form. She has a welcoming nature and led the team through a fantastic season. Being voted in as captain clearly shows how valuable she truly is to this team. Awarded a Senior S as well as the Trustees Trophy, please congratulate Amanda DeGrasse.
Senior boys basketball, Mr. Liverpool.
Good evening. First and foremost, I would like to start by championing perhaps a new award for next year. Obviously this year is unfortunately too late, but I want to propose, and I will speak to Mr. Van Dyke about this later, that we institute some sort of Manager of the Year. And I say this because our manager this year was outstanding, extremely helpful to me, and I think that that's something that I would like to recognize. And I think moving forward, it would be nice to recognize this on a yearly basis. So, Henry Haas, thank you very much. The next little bit of tidbit before I move on to my actual speech is just to say that I would like to thank anyone that helped the senior boys basketball team in any way. At the risk of forgetting somebody, I don't want to list out names because it doesn't feel real good when you get forgotten. So at the risk, and my memory is horrible, so at the risk of forgetting anybody, I'd just like to say that anybody that helped us, and you know who you are, thank you very much. Mr. Van Dyke has asked me not to be funny. And for those of you who know me, you know that this is a very difficult request. Thank you, thank you. That being said, yeah, they laughed. That being said, Mr. Van Dyke, I will try to respect your wishes from this point on. The mantra heading into this season was simple. It was to get better. My goal as a coach has always been to be better at the end of the season than we were at the start of the season, both individually and as a team. If I'm to be completely honest with you, this doesn't always go exactly according to plan. While we had a few proverbial bumps in the road along the way, I believe our season-long journey has arrived at a place that each and every member of our team can be proud of. Our participation in 2 leagues, plus several tournaments, produced an extensive and demanding schedule. Often tired and playing on shaky legs, we managed to dig deep and put forth all that we were capable of each and every time we stepped onto the floor. For my guys, it was never an option to hit the quit button. Above all else, this is what makes me so proud of my guys. Unfortunately, success in sports is too often defined by how many wins you accumulate. While we had our fair share of wins, and we were competitive in almost every game that we played in, some people out there might say that we perhaps left too many wins out there on the table. However, I believe we were successful as a team, and I know in my heart that we are better now than when we first stepped on the floor in early November. On a closing note, I would just like to offer up my congratulations to my senior boys, and I say my because they're my guys, and all the other athletes that are here tonight, all of you who have represented Stanstead College with pride and passion, and you've gotten better along the way. Thank you. I have 4 award winners, 2 senior S's, excuse me, and 2 sportsmanship awards. I will start with the senior S's. Easily our best perimeter shooter, Lucas also excelled at the defensive end of the floor. His length and quickness often combined to disrupt opposing offenses and force them into multiple turnovers. While nobody is indispensable, excuse me, our struggles, especially at the defensive end of the floor, were evident when Lucas was not present. I look forward to an increase in aggression and a stellar season from Lucas next year. And yes, I'm already thinking about next season. Our second senior S, the Moldovan monster. He mashed, smashed, and at times quietly maneuvered his way into the paint and into the good graces of his coaches. A fairly quiet young man off the floor, this gentle giant transformed into the monster we know and love as soon as he stepped across the sideline. I am both impressed and even more so pleased with the performance of this young man. From mini to monster, over the course of just one season. I look forward to many more WWE-like flex moves from him and, of course, me on the sideline. So please, would you join me in congratulating Lucas Etienne and André Boucatel. The next two awards will be sportsmanship awards. The first one, Q, as he is affectionately known, truly deserves this award. If I said nothing else, it would be enough to tell you that this young man was up at 6 a.m. in the morning in the gym practicing layups. I would expect this from a veteran, but not really from a young man who has never played the game before. The recipient of limited playing time, Q never complained, not once. And it is for this reason, and a few others that I unfortunately don't have the time to get into here, that Quentin Dessault is the recipient of this year's Senior Boys Basketball Sportsmanship Award. Sure. Sorry, that was a long pause, wasn't it? This award this year is being split between two players because I just found it extremely difficult to make a decision between the two, and I felt they were both extremely deserving. So along with Q, there is another award winner. If I am to be perfectly honest with you, a great deal of what I have said about Q also applies to Toby Zhang. An extremely... An extremely positive young man, both on and off the court, never afraid to ask questions or to seek clarification. Toby was constantly looking for ways to get better and to do better. Also a young man whose court time was limited, Toby remained positive and was the first to lead the chants of defense or the first to offer a word of encouragement to a team member. I am very proud to award this year's Senior Boys Sportsmanship Award to Quentin Dessault and Toby Zhang. I was told I have to talk on the side because this is in the way, but you don't really need to see me anyways, right? I consider this next young man an extension of me on the floor. While we started off on a bit of a rocky note, him and I, as the season progressed, we spent more time working together and a trust was built. This young man is probably the best point guard in the league, and I'm extremely proud and pleased to have had the opportunity to work with him this season. A leader on and off the floor, this young man proved himself worthy of being named our one and only team captain. Those of you who have seen him play know what he is capable of, thus the reason for my speech focusing more on his attributes that extend beyond the basketball court. He is a young man who has matured throughout the course of the season and one that I have expected a great deal from. To this point, he has not let me down. I am so excited for yet another season alongside this young man, and it gives me outstanding pleasure to award the team MVP and a major S to my point guard, the worst referee of all time, Alexis Bernier. Just going to grab my notes.
Varsity girls hockey, Miss Sharman.
Thanks. So, girls hockey. We had a 61-game schedule this season, and to date we have 48 wins, 4 ties, and 7 losses, with our last 2 games being this weekend. We went undefeated in our league and won our playoffs for the 3rd time in a row. Although we fell short in the big tournaments, we did have some pretty memorable wins this season, like our games against 2 of the top U.S. prep schools, winning those games in true Stanstead College fashion. When you spend as much time as we do together, you learn quite a bit, like how big tournaments have tough schedules, but locker room dance parties at 7 a.m. are the best way to prepare. Some refs probably need a refresher in the rules of a shootout, not to drink anyone else's Starbucks, and if we never see a pita pit again, it will be too soon. All jokes aside, this season was a roller coaster of emotion, a season that has changed us all in one way or another. Negativity is unfortunately easy to fall into, and it can consume you over time. So for that reason, I choose not to focus on the negativity, but rather to embrace the positive of this group of girls. I choose to remember how Charlie and Alex came here lacking confidence and not really sure of who they were, and leave us with a true sense of confidence in themselves as leaders and with a voice. Or girls like Rosie and Alexi, who accepted they needed to change and trusted us to help them get there. And today, they are great leaders for their team and school and genuinely positive for all the right reasons. And there are plenty others with similar stories. It's not easy to recognize that we all have self-improvement to do and an even harder road to make a change. I'm so proud of all of you who have embraced the opportunity Stanstead has given you to grow. There are a lot of people that were important to ensuring that our girls were well taken care of this season. So in no particular order, I'd like to thank Sean Willett for his tremendous work with our goalies, Mr. Ryu for all you do day in and day out, Mr. Angeletti for helping to make our girls stronger than most of the teams we played against, Mr. Wolf, all year you went out of your way to get to games and show your support for the girls. It was much appreciated. Nathan for stepping in to help out these past couple weeks, Olivia, the health center, Stefan, Candice, and the arena staff for all the behind-the-scenes work you do. Any team has a lot of pieces to its puzzle in order to make it work and to be successful. Therefore, my last thank you goes out to the biggest piece of our puzzle, Coach V. Words simply do not do justice for how much Coach V has given to this program and players. Lou Holtz, College Hall of Fame football coach, said, "I won't accept anything less than the best a player is capable of doing, and they have the right to expect the best I can do for them and the team." Coach V, without a doubt, gave you her all each and every day to make sure you became the best person and player you could possibly be. Whether it was by pushing you on the ice, giving you the best practices, or by telling you what you needed to hear but didn't want to, and holding you accountable on and off the ice. She knew what it took for you to reach your goals, and trust me when I say, no one wanted your dreams to come true more than Miss V. It takes a special person to be able to see the potential in someone when they cannot see it in themselves. And it takes an extraordinary person, 1 in a million, to be able to continue to push people to their potential, both as a player and a person, despite resistance from themselves. The most heartfelt and sincerest thank you for everything you have done for these girls in program and me. Now, now for our awards. When you walk into our locker room, there are 8 words written on the wall, signifying our team culture and values. Hardworking, positive, confident, accountable, honest, appreciative, unselfish, and encouraging. This year we would like to recognize a few players whom all have embodied our team values each and every day. I would ask that the next 3 award winners all come up together at the end. This year, our Sportsmanship Award goes to Erin Hinch, a player who understood and embraced her role. She exemplified what being a team-first player meant. Her energy was contagious both on and off the ice. She was a motivating machine on the bench, and it inspired everyone around her, coaches included. We have 2 senior S's to give out this year. Both of these players went above and beyond for their team and their coaches all year. At first glance, they are very different players on the ice. One would make big plays in the D zone and on the forecheck, while the other was lethal with her offensive plays and head-turning speed. Where these 2 players, however, are very similar is in how they have progressed this year. They bought in 100%, putting the trust in their coaches, embracing their leadership roles, wanting to be pushed to their best, and holding themselves accountable. And the outcome was incredible both on and off the ice. Captain Alex Gray and Tamara Tirus both became 2-way players, great positive leaders, and we're very proud of you both. Erin, Alex, and Tamara, please come up and accept your award. We will be giving out 4 major S's this year. Our first major S goes to a player that, besides the fact that she is extremely skilled, she continues to improve and is always hungry for more. She is a dominating force on the ice, a player who makes those around her better because of her unbelievable work ethic and how she is always expecting more from herself and her teammates. I have had the privilege to watch her grow over the past 3 years into a remarkable leader in person. Alexi's appreciation and loyalty is what stands out most to me these days. She puts those close to her above herself. Thank you for putting your trust in us, and I'm so proud of the person you're becoming. Alexi Gay, please come up and get your major S. Our second one goes to a player who plays harder than anyone I know. She plays every shift with so much character and emotion. She is fearless, determined, hates to lose battle, and she leaves everything out on the ice. The best word to describe this incredible young lady is relentless. Teams hate to play against her, and she's the type of player every coach wants on their team. Miss V once said, "The tough is what makes the great." Rosalie Demers is a perfect example of someone who has had tough times along her journey, but leaves us as an awesome teammate, a positive presence. She's unselfish, honest, and carries herself with confidence. Rosie, please come up and accept this well-deserved majorette. All right, our third one goes to one of the most genuinely appreciative kids on the team. Over the course of her 4 years here at Stanstead, she has seen it all, and never once has her appreciation for this experience, school, and especially her coaches wavered. On the ice, she is extremely hardworking and plays with such heart. She is deceivingly fast, makes plays along the blue line that you just don't see in female hockey. This player has probably played every second shift for us for the past 2 seasons, coming back to the bench just dead, only to be told she's up next. And she would just look at you with that infectious smile and go back to work. I think this speaks volume for the type of kid she is. She will do great things at UVM next year. This majoress goes to Maude Poulain-Labelle. And our final majoress goes to a player who I can confidently say has completely evolved and found herself throughout her time here at Stanstead. Both on and off the ice, she continues to surpass and exceed all of our expectations, which is probably one of the highest forms of flattery because, as most of you know, we have high expectations on our team. Her potential is endless because she is so coachable and she always wants to improve. She is the player you want on the ice in any situation. Her attention and focus on the details is what makes her so good. It is not often you see defensemen who are simply outstanding defensively, but who can also make things happen offensively. The confidence she has gained through hockey has only heightened the fantastic person she already was. She cares about others, she is humble, extremely grateful, and has become an amazing leader for this team. Although she might not think so, she is more than ready to make a significant impact at Colgate next year. It gives me so much pride to present this last majoress to Charlie Maillot. The MVP trophy will be shared between 2 players this year because we couldn't give it to one and not the other. Please help me in congratulating this year's 2 MVP winners, Maude and Charlie.
Varsity Boys Hockey, Mr. Thompson.
First, I'd like to thank James, Mr. Ryu. His stress level is all for all the hockey players in here, and it's, I don't know if you can call it admirable, but I don't want to live up to it, but he does a heck of a job. Second, to you guys, I think the way to describe it the best is I constantly enjoy bringing you to where my family is, my parents, my kid. You always represent well everything that we do. I'm really proud. And third, thank to Coach P. He's 29 years older than me, I think. He's old. He would probably insert the line right here that says, and me and Miss Sharman talked about it on the way over here, I'm gonna die soon. And he really is, he's a best friend. I consider him part of my family. And his passion for making all of you better hockey players, it's amazing. It impresses me day in and day out. I sit there and watch his son's games online when he's watching it, and then I watch you guys play with him, and the comments he makes are the exact same. So whether he's watching Cole or Daniel or any of you, his focus is the same, and I think that really puts in perspective the way he thinks of you as people and as hockey players. And lastly, I guess we should thank Jean and our drivers, Sebastian, who drove us for a while. You guys sit at the back of the bus and really you sleep the whole time. But we sit at the front, and when we were going to Ohio, 14-hour trip, it was a complete whiteout. It was like today times 10. And it was 12 hours into a bus trip, and Sebastian was driving us this trip, and I didn't have a worry in the world. And I think what those two gentlemen did for us to get us from point A to point B and back home every single time was pretty amazing. So those are my thank yous. Monday, I realized I was going to give a speech. Obviously, Mr. P had to go home to deal with some stuff with his mom. And I wanted to make sure I did it in my style, but at the same time make sure that the messages that I know he wanted to get across would also get across. I think it's really important, and we're so in sync. I think it's very easy. I didn't have to look and think like, what does he want to say? It was natural. We've had a successful season. 39 wins. We won 75% of the games that we played, and what's impressive about that is simply the strength of schedule that we played. The wins for me against Kimball Union and St. Andrews are the two that stand out the most. If you looked at the beginning of the year, if you looked at the middle of the year, for KUA, if you looked at the end of the year, they're the best team in New England. You can ask Willett's brother, because they beat Salisbury in the finals. And St. Andrews is, I think, the measuring stick for us in Canada to try and surpass. And with a little help from Cole Huckin's most outstanding goal of his career the other day, we beat them in overtime to make it to the National Championship semifinals. The other game that really stands out in my head, and I think this goes to how Mr. Van Dyke opened the evening, it was a Tuesday afternoon. I think it was a 5 o'clock start in Middlebury, Vermont. It was the worst game that we played all year. There's no question. We were playing against Exeter, who, a very good team. We simply didn't show up. And after that game, our next game was Saturday night, Parents' Weekend against BCS. And I don't think we went back on the ice until the game. We might have had one practice beforehand. In our opinion, you needed a little bit of time off from hockey. You needed to appreciate the game that you got to play, so you get to sit around for a few days. We won the next 17 games. That's pretty good. So after that, so once we start winning these 17 games, so from that November 29th onwards, whatever it was, we finished the year with 30 wins from that date, 6 losses, and 1 overtime loss, call it a tie. Unfortunately, of those 6 losses, 2 of them were pretty big. We lost in our MPHL finals to Ridley 1-0, and we lost to Upper Canada College last weekend 4-3 in overtime in the national championship game. And those ones hurt. It's easy to talk about your passion for hockey by simply looking at what you did, looking at your record, and evaluating your success only based on your wins and your losses. But I think the true measuring stick of what you do, and I said it to you before we went on the ice today, it's in practice, and it's on Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday. And very few people are watching. Mrs. Campbell is usually there, but after that, there's not a lot of people watching us. It's really not an exaggeration. We said our speech before the national championship game the other day is, we've enjoyed watching you play, and we don't think you've had a bad practice all year. And I've coached hockey at this level for 8 years now, and there's been plenty of times, and I've done a lot of it with Coach P. There's been times where instead of developing bad habits, we've simply said, practice is over. Like, today just isn't your day. You know, we won't work on the bad, we'll just get back at it tomorrow. We never had to do this. And I think that's amazing. I'd like to thank our captains. I think you've all done a great job as quiet leaders. None of you are the most vocal speaking presence. Foch in particular, it's not the year that you envisioned for yourself, but constantly you were brought up by us and other coaches as just someone that was a tireless worker, and you always did your job well. I don't mean to put him on the spot, but he scored 2 goals all year, and that's not the type of player he is, and it's not the type of player he'd be if he played anywhere next year. But he did everything else that was right, and that's what a leader is, so thank you. It's hard to sum up everything into a short speech. There's been many different moments that we've gone through as a team, and I guess, Mr. Van Dyke kept stealing my thunder. You'll have your life to think about them all, the wins and the losses and everything else, and I think you've had a tremendous year. Mr. Ryu received a text last week from really someone who was probably one of our top 3 recruits. He was number 27 at SAC, and it was his dad that said, your team is relentless, and that's exactly what you guys were every single day, and thank you very much. We have 1 Sportsmanship Award and 4 major S's. Sportsmanship Award goes to Kieran Gallant, my advisee. But most importantly, just someone who constant positivity, constant effort, desire to make other people better, and never a frown on his face. I don't know if I've ever seen one in the 2 years that I've been with him. Overall, just a perfect person to have on our hockey team. So Kieran, come on up. First major S, came with a lot of pedigree, offensive talents, smooth on his skates. But what he ultimately proved to me, and I think it took me even a little bit longer to buy into exactly what he was, but I got there, trust me. 100% a big game player, stepped up when we really needed it. A major S to Sean LaRochelle. Next major S, an athlete that's extremely focused. He has a lethal shot that he he still needs to learn to use a little bit more because it is that good. He's a pure scorer, so when he puts the puck on net, it's going to go in. And he also has been able to find chemistry with his brother, so Charlie Campbell. Third Major S winner last Saturday against SAC. Alex got hurt and we had to play overtime without him. And it's the first time we had to play without him all year. And to be frank, and I know I'm not the only person that was thinking this, we're all thinking who's going to score. Alex and Charlie scored 40% of our goals. Greg was with them as well and helped a lot too. Alex's second to third gear and his ability to be like, no, I'm going to beat you right now, literally the best I've ever seen in a hockey player in, well, I started playing when I was 6. Chris Stewart was my line mate then too, so he's in the NHL now. I was better than him, so. Alex, it's tremendous what you can do when you look at a defender. So he gets hurt, Cole scores. Look at it online. It's interesting. And then Alex can't play for the first period on Sunday. And I really know that there's no reason that he should have played. He was injured to the point that he shouldn't play. We didn't have the best first period, and he came up to me and says, I think I'm going to try. 2 goals and an assist later, I would say he tried and proved exactly the type of player he is. So a major S to Alex Campbell. Our last major S, probably not the most obvious to everyone, but the most obvious to coaches of a team that when you see day in and day out. I think the irony in his career as a hockey player here, because his career as an athlete is far from over here, is that it started at St. Andrews and it ended at St. Andrews. And when you get to go in to Toronto and you get to recruit, and it was Coach P that did it, you get to recruit kids and take them away from all these other big schools. I think it's impressive. But Trevor's not the type of person that everyone appreciates as a hockey player. But if you have him day in and day out as an athlete, I don't know how you could ever not appreciate what he does. So a major S to Trevor Grasby. Last but not least, our MVP trophy, and it's going to be 2 people that have already been called, and frankly, there's no reason to try and separate the 2, so Alex and Charlie come back up.
Final program of the night, senior girls basketball. I'll speak for this one. Before I begin, Mrs. Wolf, thank you for coaching with me. We're on a bit of a run here, and of course, it doesn't happen without you. Back on December 8th, we lost to Triolet. Ken's didn't play, Chloe was hurt. We got trounced 42-16. A little reminiscent of the game that Mr. Thompson was just talking about that his team had. That was 96 days ago. Since that day, we've played 30 games and won them all. One of those wins was by 3 points over a AAA club from Montreal. One of them was by 7 points over LaRouche, and the rest were by 20 points or more. There's never been a more dominant stretch of basketball in SC history, and along the way, we won every championship that there was to win. Am I proud of that? Damn right I'm proud of that. But on a list of things I'm most proud of, that comes in at about 5th place. I am more proud of the way that we won all those blowouts. Complete class all the way. No disrespecting our opponents. I had countless coaches say thank you in the handshake line for not running up the score. I had parents, even referees, come up to me after the games and say how impressed they were with the players. I've been on the other end of blowouts. I know how it feels. Girls, your classiness makes me proud. I am more proud of how smart we were as a team. This season was probably the least amount of coaching I've ever had to do, because so many of the girls understood what we were trying to do as well as I did. It was like having little mini coaches out there with long hair, playing, reacting, thinking, problem solving, sitting back on my coaching chair, watching you guys play the smartest basketball I've ever been a part of. That made me proud. I am more proud of how much our bench players improved. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm being realistic. At the beginning of the season, there was a huge gap between the starters and the bench. So much so that we had a couple practices where we had to split the team in two to teach the basics to the newer players. But a couple weeks ago, at one of the last practices of the year, we had a full team scrimmage, and I was amazed at how far so many players had come. Everyone on that floor had become a baller. Jab stepping, driving, aggressive defense, pick and rolls, passing, scoring. I hadn't really noticed the finished product until then. I guess it crept up on me because it was so gradual, but I was so impressed. Your incredible improvement, that makes me proud. And finally, I am most proud of how unselfish this team is. It was always about the team, never about individual. And basketball is a sport that it's very easy to get caught up in the individual because you get points and people think about points and not the other 12 things there are in a basketball game. As Greg Popovich, coach of the Spurs, says, these girls were always giving up a good shot to get a great shot. Returning veterans who were first options on offense last year, who took all the shots, they took way fewer shots this year because it was the right thing to do. New players bought into their roles no matter what those roles were. Every single player did what was asked of them with no ego. With no ego at all. And the results speak for themselves. More than the wins and the championships, those are the things I'm most proud of. Thank you, girls, for an unforgettable season. On to the awards. There are 2 Senior S awards. Please come up together. The first Senior S goes to Emily Willis, who passes and shoots from outside at an elite level and whose finishing on fast break contested layups is so ridiculously incredible, I don't really know how to describe how she does it. But what really sets Emily apart is how smart she is athletically. Her innate understanding of angles and timing and spacing, it's off the charts, which is why she became a starter in only her first year at senior and why she became such an indispensable contributor to our team's success. The second Senior S goes to Alyssa McPherson. If you saw any of our games and were lucky enough to see a game where Alyssa was feeling it, then you saw the best inside scorer in the league. When she's on, no one can pour in the points like she does. Right hand, left hand, up and under, short jumpers. It's beautiful to see. But just as importantly, Alyssa improved her defense this year, which is the sign of a real athlete. Not just playing to your strengths, but focusing on your weaknesses and improving. Emily and Alyssa, please come up to receive your Senior S awards. The first major S goes to a Spartans basketball lifer and one of the best all-around basketball players that our program has ever produced. There is nothing that Chloe Van Dyke can't do on a basketball court, and I've never coached a player with a higher basketball IQ or who understands the game more than she does. In fact, it was a regular occurrence in timeouts for her to suggest something to me that I hadn't thought of. Now, despite what she may tell you, she wasn't always right, but she was right a lot of the time. And it was that experience, that intelligence, and that do-everything talent that has earned her this award. Major S to the emotional leader of the team, Captain Chloe Van Dyke. The second major S goes to a player who always gets credit for her speed, her ankle-breaking handle, her all-world defense, and others may also notice that she's a truly unselfish leader, always putting the team before herself. But not enough people realize that Rina Takahashi is the fiercest competitor on our team. She has a warrior mentality, she is almost never happy with her performance, and she takes it personally if her opponent ever gets the better of her. Widely regarded as the best point guard in the Eastern Townships last year, she made herself even better this year by bringing her passing up to the same ridiculous level as the rest of her game. Major S and the Sportsmanship Award to one of the toughest kids I've ever coached, Captain Rina Takahashi. The final major S, as well as the Best Ferguson MVP trophy for excellence and sportsmanship in girls basketball, goes to Mackenzie St. Pierre. Last year, Ken's had all the potential in the world. You could see it. And this year, she put it all together and put together one of the best individual seasons in Spartan basketball history. She was the linchpin of our zone defense, the focus of our zone offense, and the one-woman fast break. She could shut down your best player, beat your press, steal your pass, break your ankle, and then block your shot into the stands. And all while looking and acting like the nicest girl in the neighborhood. In fact, that's probably the only thing she doesn't do well. She's not intimidating enough. But with some lessons from Chloe, she'll probably work on it over the summer and become elite at that as well. Major S and MVP trophy, Captain Mackenzie St. Pierre. I mentioned losing at the beginning of the evening, and just like Mr. Ryu, great minds think alike, I'd like to officially end the Winter Athletic Assembly with another quote from the great John Wooden. Losing is only temporary and not all-encompassing. You must simply study it, learn from it, and try hard not to lose the same way again. I'd like to thank all of you for your fine comportment this evening. Congratulations to all award winners. Thank you to Mr. Murray for taking all the photos. A huge thank you again to all of your coaches, not just for tonight, but for the entire season. MVP trophy winners, please stay behind for a yearbook photo. Everyone else, when you return to the residences, there will be no study. Mr. Wells, is that true? No study. And Mr. Wells, everybody. Please stand as your coaches leave the church and have a good night.